I'm facing stage 4 cancer. I'm either going to get cured or I'm going to die.
Hello, this is On the Subject of Cancer, a podcast brought to you by New England Cancer Specialists. My name is Jessica Fidalgo, your host. Today's episode is part 2 of our 2-part conversation with Trevor Maxwell and Dr. Devon Evans. While the subject is cancer, this is mostly a podcast about people. Every episode, we sit down with someone who has lived through or is a specialist in the treatment of cancer, and we ask them about their experiences, their knowledge, and anything they're willing to share. If you're listening as someone touched by cancer, whether that's personally or through someone you love, you're not alone, and we're glad you're here. Let's get into today's conversation with Dr. Devon Evans and Trevor Maxwell.
So my message is, whether it's Man Up to Cancer or other communities, I encourage men to just get out of that isolation and participate in communities, and it's going to really pay off in terms of, no matter what the outcome is, that quality of life going through it is going to be better if you're being supported by others who are walking that road.
Yeah, absolutely. That's huge. I'm sure we have a lot of patients at NECS who are part of it.
It's been amazing to see, over the years, patients of mine come in all the time and make reference to Trevor said this on this podcast or involved with Man Up to Cancer. It's amazing the reach of it. Locally, of course, but regionally as well. These are conversations that come up in our discussions with Dana-Farber as well.
And I want to thank Dr. Evans and New England Cancer for making this accessible to their guys. Like, I go in there and they'll put our postcards out and make sure,
absolutely,
because in breast cancer, there's countless resources, but for men particularly, there's not a lot of organizations in that lane. So honestly, we get now, Men Up to Cancer has more than 40 chapters across the U.S. and Canada. We do a large annual retreat every year. But now what we're finding is the biggest people who come to us and ask for those postcards are infusion centers, like the nurses, the PAs, the physicians who say, hey, we've heard about you guys. We have guys that are struggling with that social piece and that emotional piece. We'd love to connect. So
that's fantastic.
And I got to say, New England Cancer has been huge in making that happen.
Yeah. So it's manuptocancer.org. There's online and in person. There's the retreats. There's the activities. I know we're going to be hosting you at a Parts of Pine soccer game later on this summer.
Thank you for that. I'm excited.
We're very excited. For the soccer to come back. I don't know anything about sports, and I'm such a soccer groupie now. It is hilarious.
Well, there's another community.
Yeah.
Right? You see that community in Maine. You see people wearing the jerseys and everything around.
Absolutely.
Right? It's a great example. But yes, so manuptocancer.org. Anyone can just sign up there. All of our programs are free. Mm-hmm. And the backbone of this is we have a private online community and app where members who join, any man who's impacted by cancer, whether you're a patient, long-term survivor, or a male caregiver, is welcome. And we have a 24/7, 365 online support, so that, let's say you have a scan coming up next week and you're really starting to get anxious, you can reach out and let people know, hey, I'm starting to spin out a little bit. Can someone chat or give me a phone call even, or meet up for coffee?
Yeah.
That is super helpful. Taking away that anxiety around because sometimes, and Dr. Evans can attest to this, sometimes even getting a test back, like a blood test or a CT result test, can feel like the stakes are so high.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's such value in naming that fear out loud to someone else, in terms of giving some of that burden to someone else.
Yeah. It's huge. It really does take a village when it comes to a diagnosis.
Absolutely.
Right? Dr. Evans, we've talked a lot about kind of the scarier side and the trends, but I imagine, it just seems to me as a layperson that treatments are advancing so quickly. Do you think that in another 8 years, the treatment of colorectal cancer is going to look significantly different, better?
I would love that. I would love that. Is the honest answer. And yes, particularly over the past, say, 10 to 12 years, there have been rapid advances in any number of different cancer types that have totally changed how we think about it. I think the frustrating piece overall is the recognition that cancer is not one disease. We're always asked, when are you going to cure cancer? Well, it's not one thing.
Right.
Cancer is thousands of different things. So when we talk about making massive improvements in one diagnosis, that's great for that one small segment, but there's 999 other segments that we got to get to.
Yeah.
So each year it feels like we're knocking one of those off, and people are living longer with cancer, but it's never fast enough. As what it should be. So there's still work to be done.
I know we talked about Trevor having his, tumor discovered in the ascending colon, but like I was at a breast cancer fundraiser, and they talked about, kind of that there's more than 40 different kind of like types of breast cancer. Is the same true for CRC?
So the same likely is true. I think breast cancer has always excelled at identifying those molecular subtypes, but given the prevalence and the ease of molecular profiling, we're learning more and more about all of these different subtypes. And we do begin to think about colorectal cancer as being of different types. And strangely, that right versus left, it actually is real. There's a difference molecularly between right-sided colon cancers and left-sided colon cancers. Wow. There are different mutations that we can find that define different colorectal cancer subtypes. So that's really the work that is ongoing. And for example, it won't be that we cure colorectal cancer in one swoop. We're going to knock off subtype by subtype, getting better and better treatments.
Yeah, which is exciting. Although one thing I gather is that the detection piece has also really come an incredibly long way, right? Like now we have Cologuard, we have, as you mentioned, lowered the screening age from 50 to 45 so that people are, kind of getting screened earlier and earlier. Are you encouraged?
Correct. There are multiple screening tests that are available. And I think that the best point is the best screening test is the one that you do.
The one you do.
Right? So if for whatever reason you can't handle a colonoscopy, yes, do Cologuard. That's the next best piece. I would love to see a reliable blood test come that can screen for colon cancer. Those studies are ongoing, but hasn't as yet borne fruit.
I think, I don't know the latest stats on Shield from Garden Health, and there's others, but I'll get on my soapbox about screening, which is colonoscopy remains the gold standard. And that's because it's the only modality, the only screening modality where the gastroenterologist can actually prevent cancer by removing polyps. My wife, for example, she had her colonoscopy, her first one at 47, and had a rectal polyp removed that was deemed precancerous. But Cologuard, fecal test, Cologuard, which is like fecal plus DNA, and then blood tests, I think are really good. And some of the blood tests are already showing being really good at detecting cancer. But what they're not good at is detecting polyps, adenomas, pre-cancer. And I'm a little bit concerned about, as these blood tests emerge, that the marketing will equate them with colonoscopy. And I understand, like for people who can't get access to colonoscopy or who won't do colonoscopy, I think having stool tests and blood tests are great options. I love that having more. And I totally agree that the best test is the one that gets done. I just also want to put it out there that those tests still aren't good at detecting these adenomas. So if you're 45 and you have no family history and no symptoms, go get scheduled for that colonoscopy.
Yeah.
That is still the gold standard. It's the one that you can remove those polyps that can become cancer.
Yep.
And then if you're not, but I will also say this: if you have those symptoms that we talked about earlier, or if you have a family history, it's never too early to go in and talk to your primary care physician about colorectal cancer screening, especially with symptoms with a significant family history. Because Dr. Evans mentioned it earlier, like I was 41, I would not have, I wouldn't have been eligible for standard screening. We don't have a good protocol in this country for screening for under 45. So that's one of the big messages we got to get out there. And I can't talk about it enough, right? If you have symptoms, if you have a family history, talk to your doctor now about what options might be available to you.
That's really good advice. Well, let's demystify this colonoscopy thing a little bit, right? Like, and we're not going to show any pictures or video, of course, but so you're 45, you're eligible for screening. You go to your primary care. They refer you to maybe Portland Gastro or someplace here locally that we partner with, and you sign up and you're going to get this colonoscopy. But when they say prep, that's the word people hate. I'm going to do my colonoscopy prep, and it's you got to set aside the whole day before, right? It's like because that's important. What's the purpose of this prep? It's to give the
In order
physician a
for
clean
the
look at everything.
gastroenterologist to see the mucosa, the lining of your colon,
Okay.
it needs to be empty.
Okay.
So the goal of this is to empty out your colon to the fullest extent feasible. So it's I don't know, an uncomfortable 12 hours, but you can just ask Trevor if you would take an uncomfortable 12 hours compared to an uncomfortable 8 years, right?
Yeah, I mean, a day or a night of sitting on the toilet to have that peace of mind that you don't have cancer, or to remove polyps that you could develop into cancer, compared to 7 major abdominal surgeries, 75 rounds of chemo, immunotherapy, like fighting for your life for years. And like, I'm one of the lucky ones.
Yeah.
Right.
No brainer.
It is a absolute no brainer. So when people, but even knowing my diet, even knowing what I've gone through, there's still some people who look at me and just be like, yeah, I just don't want to do the prep. And I'm just like, okay, I got to walk away right now. 'Cause
that's
I might have to throw hands.
Yeah, it's hard to understand. So you go through the prep, then you go to the gastroenterologist. They kind of put you under in this kind of like twilight type of anesthesia, right? It's not like general anesthesia if you were having
Correct.
you know,
It's not
surgery.
general anesthesia, and in keeping with that, it's best to have a sense of humor of these things. When I had my screening colonoscopy at Portland Gastroenterology, done the prep the night before, first case in the morning, I think it was a Friday. I'm in my Johnny getting wheeled in to the room, and it so happened that 7 or 8 practice administrators from New England Cancer Specialists happened to be visiting Portland Gastroenterology, and like happened to wander into the hallway right as I was getting wheeled in to the room.
That is so classic.
Which was classic, right?
Well, why didn't you?
waited up for
talk
my
about
Johnny.
a video opportunity.
Yeah,
for
right.
I know.
cancer.
That could have been
I feel
right
like,
there.
I
I
feel
believe
like
we
you
didn't
missed
have a
it.
podcast
Missed
then.
it.
Completely.
I really missed
Completely.
No,
one.
but I will say, like when you see celebrities do it, like Deion Sanders did one. Like
Yeah.
there's some other celebrities who are putting their colonoscopy out there. Like that moves the needle.
It
That's
does,
a big
yeah.
deal.
It's part of the conversation. It's terrific. So they wheel you in. And then you're really not aware of what's going on, and it's very quick, isn't it? It's probably if they don't find
it's
anything or
quick,
it goes
correct.
well.
And I would
it's-
say there are varying levels of awareness. I recall mine as if it were kind of a dream, which I think is probably the common scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Some people don't remember at all. Some people are fairly well awake, but it's not an unpleasant experience at all.
No.
And the gastroenterologist is able to use the camera in the procedure to really look at the lining of your colon, and the colon's long, right? How many feet is it?
The colon is long, and as it turns out, yes, there are criteria for how long they take to look, and making sure they're visualizing all of the appropriate anatomic landmarks to make sure they're not missing anything.
Yeah, so they go
Through
through
the
the
whole way.
entire length of it, check out the mucosa, check out everything, and if they see a polyp, or it
Polyps
could be
basically
benign-
come out, so
Okay.
they're trained to remove polyps when they see them.
Okay. Could there be other like lumps and bumps that they see that
Yeah.
are not polyps?
So that's possible. You can get inflammatory polyps from inflammation in there. You could have a fold of your colon that just looks a little bit funny.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not unusual to see a colonoscopy report with a biopsy that just says normal colonic mucosa
Okay.
from one of those things.
And I think you might know better than me, but I think there's like a size cutoff. Like if they see something of a certain size that's like visibly likely cancer, they're not going to remove that.
Right.
Like with mine, like they'll take a piece of it
Yeah.
and biopsy it. But I think maybe up to like maybe a couple centimeters, they will loop that and remove it, and then send it off to pathology.
Okay. So anything that they remove goes to pathology just
Correct.
to get checked out.
Yep.
Okay. And that could be one way of diagnosing colon cancer with that screening. Interesting. Okay. And then they wheel you back in, you get your pants back on, and
you're
off to
on
the
your way.
races.
You might feel a little bit slowed for the rest of the day,
Yeah.
just given the anesthesia. But
But yeah, and if there is a diagnosis pretty much made right there, which was my case, like, and I know lots of people now who were diagnosed at colonoscopy, then you'll have that meeting and you'll at least know that you're facing something that really needs to be reviewed and could be likely cancer at that point. But for most colonoscopies, it's pretty simple. Like you said, you recover. You have to have someone with you. You have to have someone who's your driver.
Yes.
To take you home.
Because you're a little bit maybe out of it from having received some anesthesia.
Oh, yeah.
Although I
Correct.
wasn't. I felt I could have gone right back to
Well,
work.
you,
after.
maybe you feel that way. I've given like multiple rides home to friends after this, and it can be pretty entertaining. So, somewhat along the lines of like a wisdom tooth removal.
Yeah.
There's a larger point here that Trevor is in essence the embodiment of what cancer survivorship increasingly is. It's people who are living longer and longer, in essence with no limits, never really free of disease, but living and going about their lives and fulfilling whatever their life's mission is, which is lovely to see. And I think it's a little bit different than the binary cancer is cured or it's not.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I think still in the popular culture that's the belief. Like,
Right.
I'm facing stage 4 cancer. I'm either going to get cured or I'm going to die. And I think that's what people were like, especially those first several years, kept looking at me like, well, is he cured? Is he going to die? Is it like, and I'm just being real with this, like, because they're not used to what I would call a functional cure or long-term survivorship while you're still treating. I mean, that's where I'm living. And what he said, where you're in this gray area where I might always have some amount of cancer inside my body that we're doing different modalities, whether it's immunotherapies, targeted surgery, different targeted therapies to keep at bay over a long period of time. And that is the biggest change. I've been frustrated about the lack of like new therapies for CRC, but this is the area where I do see progress, is in more people living longer and better lives while still managing their disease as a chronic illness.
Yeah. I think that you make an absolutely terrific point. I don't think a lot of people really have a concept of living with cancer as a chronic condition, but this certainly is one.
And it's what we see every day in the clinic now. And as to my initial point, I still have patients from that era when I joined the practice. That's emblematic of that.
That are still with you, yeah.
Correct.
Well, you have a lot of fans, Dr. Evans. I know you're probably not on social media that much. You got a big
not.
job. I manage our social media channels for NECS, and we had a video about you recently where you appeared on Inside Maine's Best, to give awareness and prevention information on WGME for March. And just so many comments. Dr. Evans saved my life. I love Dr. Evans. I've been with him 15 years. Dr. Evans is the GOAT. Just all of just so many
I definitely
people
want to
whose
add to
lives
that,
you've touched.
if I could.
Please.
Because
It's an Evans Appreciation Society.
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be here without Dr. Evans
Yeah.
and the whole team at New England Cancer. Like, what do you say when a team and a doctor save your life? And I did want to comment. One of the things that I love about Dr. Evans is that he does embrace this new paradigm of shared decision making. And let me tell you what that looks like for me. That shared decision making means that, yes, Dr. Evans is going to give me the recommendations, and he knows the science and the biology and all the cancer side of it, but he also wants to learn about my life. And he wants to learn about what I want out of this journey. And he wants to give me the options and discuss them so that I feel like I am a partner in my care. And that when I go out and, I'm a journalist by training. I love learning about this stuff. I've loved learning about my disease. And I like to learn about my disease and then bring it into Dr. Evans and say, hey, what do you think about this? And he's always been open to that and wanting to like learn what my perspective is, and he'll explore new areas. The second thing is, he's like my quarterback for the care, right? So we have New England Cancer here locally, but because my disease is I'm a little bit in unicorn territory with my biology, he's always been willing to have me go get consults at NCI level centers. I've gone to, I think, 4 NCI centers over the past 8 years to get different teams' opinions about my case. And Dr. Evans collaborates with them and talks to them about my case. And that you get the best of both worlds. You get the best local care here, but you also get access to NCI centers like Dana-Farber, where that knowledge, because the more teams look at your case, in my mind, the better. And I've always sought that. And Dr. Evans has always encouraged that and embraced that model. And I always look at it as like, imagine I was building a house and I hire an architect. Well, that architect is going to know everything about architecture and how the house is built and why something's possible and why something's not possible and who else to consult on it. But as the person who's going to live in that house, I want input. I want to know why we're doing things. Why are these decisions being made? Are there other decisions we could explore? So in that way, he's the professional, but I'm the person in that lived experience.
Yeah.
And I just really appreciate that model here. And look where it's gotten us, right? Like I'm here 8 years into a stage 4 journey, when so many others in my position, haven't had that good fortune. And it's because of the care that I receive right here in Scarborough, now in Westbrook, formerly in Scarborough, now at Rock Row.
Come on down to Rock Row.
I just want to say thank you. I mean, I tell you that a lot, but to be able to, I'm going to try not to cry.
It's all right if you do.
To be able to see our daughters go from 12 and 10 to college students, 20 and 18, to teach them to drive and to go to their graduations, and now to be thinking about college graduations and even potentially seeing them have children if they choose to do that. Like that is the heart of cancer care. Like that is how deep it goes. This is not a transactional relationship. Like you have this doctor and this team that is carrying you through all the way through diagnosis to seeing the milestones that you want to reach. And I could not be more grateful for that.
And I would add to that, Trevor, on our side, the hardest question I think I get is, how do you do this? How do you do this every day? And in essence, it's because of people like you, people who are highly engaged, who have good outcomes, who you share your experience with, your stories and our patients' stories in general are the fuel that feed us and keep us going and get us through those hard moments as well. If I've learned nothing in 18 years is that there's no one particular cancer case. Every cancer diagnosis is someone's story, and people make different choices along that pathway. And I think our role is to support those pathways, and it can be people like you, Trevor, and honestly, it can be people who are along the category of just tell me what to do, doc.
Yeah.
And we're happy to meet people where they are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that too, because shared decision making can also mean, you know what? I don't want to talk to you about anything that's going on. I just want you to tell me what your best.
Yeah.
If I was your brother, what would you tell me to do?
Right.
But that is patient empowerment, because we get to choose how much we want to be engaged. Thank you for saying that. It's really hard to express how much gratitude there is for still being alive and still being able to do all this with my family. It's pretty cool. So thank you.
And I feel like I have this very special front row seat to so many different stories that are out there. And it's motivating, of course, professionally, but also personally in terms of how I live my own life. Seeing stories like yours.
It is to me too. The what you've done with your diagnosis and the advocacy and what you've turned it into with Man Up to Cancer is just incredibly brave. And who could ever blame you if you just stayed in your man cave and didn't want to engage in any of that? But you've created so much positivity out of something so.
Well, we need more men, right? We need more men to.
We do.
Not everyone needs to build something or community, but we need more men at least sharing their stories.
Absolutely.
So that other guys can, like, a big reason why I speak out and so much about this to the point where my kids are like, shut up, Dad, you've said it enough time, is that I know that there's one guy out there who feels isolated and is like, wow, look at that guy talking about it. We need more men to get involved, speak up about what they're going through and tell their stories. And
Absolutely.
So I appreciate the opportunity to do that with you today.
Absolutely. Well, that's a great note to leave it on. Although it did occur to me that, you've never had Dr. Evans captive on mic before. Is there anything that you've ever wanted to,
He's like,
always
I gotta go.
wanted to ask him that you never have had a chance, never had a chance to ask? My sense is that you are not someone who holds back with your questions. So you may have already been able to ask anything.
I like to think that Trevor and I have a very honest relationship.
Yeah, honestly, there's nothing that comes to mind because I think I do ask him those questions. A lot of it is just asking him how his family's doing.
Yeah.
This isn't just him caring about my family. Like I care about him and his family. Like the patients care about our practitioners.
We do.
Our clinicians, and we want them to be healthy and happy. And if Dr. Evans decided next week that he wants to go sail around the world and, take a break or not do this anymore, it's enough, right? That's enough too. Or whether you want to keep doing it, like the need is always going to be there. It never stops. That's the thing. Like as a patient, like I see that waiting room, you see the new people coming in, like it's whether you're an advocate or a practitioner, you could do it 24/7, 365, and the need would still, it wouldn't change.
Yeah.
So like, I think I ask him those questions because I want him to know that I genuinely care about his experience as well. And so far, unless he's lying to me, like I think he's handling and balancing things pretty well because it is a hard job. Like that is a very hard job, especially on the emotions, right? As mortality is your field is mortality. So the patients are aware of that.
Yeah.
And again, it feels so much better now in 2026 than it did 10, 15 years ago with the amount of tools at our disposal and seeing patients like Trevor thrive over time is lovely.
That's great. Really hopeful. Well, thank you both again for being my guests on the podcast.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. I learned a lot, and I'm sure that the listeners will too. So
Thank you.
you bet. Thank you for listening to this episode of On the Subject of Cancer. If you're listening and heard a piece of yourself in this conversation, we're glad you're here. Cancer can be isolating. Conversations like this one with Dr. Evans and Trevor remind us that even when the experiences are different, the feelings often aren't. If you have a question, a comment, or a topic you'd like us to cover, please send us a note to onthesubject@necs.com. This has been On the Subject of Cancer. To learn more and listen to additional episodes, visit newenglandcancerspecialist.com/podcasts. Find us wherever you listen to podcasts.